Welcome back to the second installment of our BT by Brooklyn Tweed first Raglan walkthrough videos. I'm Mary, and today we're going to be going through the division round to divide the yoke into the body and sleeves, and then working the body from there. So here I've got my yoke of the first Raglan sweater. It is on a 32-inch circular needle, but has many more stitches than that, so it's a little hard to see what's what. So I've made a diagram here of what we'll be doing in this division round. So you may recognize this. The wrong side is on facing here so that you can see how your needle will be organized. We've got the beginning of the round and then the back stitches, and then a marker for the left sleeve, and then a marker for the front, and a marker for the right sleeve. So what we'll be doing on this division round is just placing the sleeve stitches on waste yarn so that we can come back to them later, and then casting on a smaller amount of stitches to kind of replace those, and also keeping some of the raglan stitches from the sleeve on the body so that the raglan lines will flow into the body in a really beautiful way. So I'm going to go ahead and work this division round on camera. So the first thing that we'll do is just knit across from the beginning of the round to the first marker. All right, so now we've knit across the back stitches to the first marker. We're going to knit 4 more stitches from what have been the sleeve stitches. So that kind of gets across that raglan band. And then we're going to put the rest of the sleeve stitches up until 4 stitches before the next marker onto a piece of waste yarn. So it helps to have waste yarn that is in a contrasting color from your sweater knitting, and then also one that's quite smooth. So here I've got Puri and Patina, and I'm just gonna slip stitches one by one onto a tapestry needle that's threaded with this waste yarn. All right, so now we have slipped each of the sleeve stitches up until 4 stitches before the next marker onto this piece of waste yarn. You can kind of pull it through and then cut it. I like to leave it a little bit long so that I can tie it off. So I'm just gonna cut that and then very loosely tie it so that they don't slip off. And then we're gonna come back to where we left off on the right needle, where our working yarn is, and then cast on some new stitches to kind of make a bridge at the underarm. So for the second size that I'm working, that number of stitches that I'm going to cast on is 7, but you'll use whatever number is given for your size. So we're going to use the backward loop cast on, which means that we'll just take our working yarn, put it around our 3 fingers like this, cross it over so that the tail end of the working yarn is on top of the yarn coming from the needle, and then place that loop onto the right needle and tighten it up. So that's 1 stitch cast on. Then we'll do the rest of our stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And these, you can kind of make them as firm and as tight as you want. They will loosen up a little bit, and you just have to try and keep them, as even as possible when you're working into them later. And then now that we've had our underarm bridge stitches cast on, we're going to work the rest of the stitches until that next marker. And then as we did for the back, we're going to knit all the way across the front stitches to the next marker. So now we've arrived at that next marker, and as we've done before, we're going to slip it and then knit 4 from the sleeve stitches. And then place the rest of these sleeve stitches until 4 before the beginning of the round onto another piece of waste yarn. All right, so now we've got our sleeve stitches placed on waste yarn up until the last 4 stitches. Do as we've done before, kind of pull the waist yarn through and cut it, and then tie it off. You want to make your knots kind of loose here because you're going to want to undo them later when you come back to the sleeve stitches. Now we will cast on the underarm bridge stitches for this side. Again, using that backward loop cast on. So for the second size, I'm going to do 7 stitches again. Perfect. And then we will use our working yarn to knit the last 4 stitches of the round back to the beginning of the round. So there you have it. You have divided the yoke for the body and sleeves. So now what we have left on the needle are the stitches that are going to be used for the body. And this is the point where you will want to decide which variation of the body that you're working, because if you're going to work the straight body, you'll work from the main pattern, or if you're working the tapered body, you'll work from the companion. Something that can be really helpful if you're working the tapered body is to use locking stitch markers to keep track of the decreases so that you can count them visually without having to kind of search them out. You can also place your stitches on waist yarn at any point to check the length and fit of your sweater. You'll do that much like you have done on the sleeves, just with a really long piece or a longer circular needle. You can also do that. You just want to make sure that it's long enough that it can stretch as you put your arms and head through it. So you know what this is done. You'll just slip each stitch purlwise onto the tapestry needle. But instead of just the sleeve stitches, you would do all of the stitches on your needle so that you can put them back when you're done trying it on. But that'll help you get a really good feel for how your sweater's fitting and so that you can make any adjustments as you go. So for the body, whichever variation you're doing, you will work those instructions until the body measures about 2 1/4 inches shorter than the length that you're going for from the underarm. After that, you'll work the ribbing, and then you'll want to use a stretchy bind off to finish your sweater so that it stretches well enough to put it on. You can try basically any bind off method that you're comfortable with. You can do a traditional bind off with a relaxed tension, try the elastic bind off, Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, or a tubular bind off. Follow along next time as we go through how to work the sleeves on your first raglan sweater. Happy knitting!